Let's shift focus now onto issues of elections. And on Saturday, INEC conducted about 28 court-ordered rerun elections in about 11 states. Results are already coming in most of these areas, but some of the stories coming out of that exercise are not quite palatable. Joining me to assess the exercise is one of the observer groups and the leader of the observer group, the executive director of Yaga Africa, Mr. Samson Itodo. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Thank you, Mr. Itodo. What are you hearing about the elections from the field? Some of your observers, what are they telling you about the outcome? Because before the election, we were trying to ask INEC what they are doing differently in ensuring that there is a big departure from what we saw in Kogi and Bayelsa.
Well, thanks and good evening, Nigeria. Yeah, the election has come, has gone, but there are still one out of the federal constituency election results that is yet to be declared. INEC has declared some of the results, and as you can see from the 11 states, winners have emerged, and INEC has made returns. One of the federal constituency elections that we're expecting the results is in Imo State, in the Olu federal constituency, where, based on the order of the court, INEC was expected to conduct elections in 18 polling units. The elections held, results were being collated, and they were disrupted by armed thugs. And we have received reports that INEC office, the local government in Olu, was invaded by ununiformed security officials who claimed that they were deployed from Abuja to take results from the INEC office, and they came looking for the results for that particular federal constituency, and that's very, very disturbing. As you can see from yesterday, there were disruption and hijack of INEC officials and election materials in Akwa Ibom, in Sokoto. In fact, armed bandits prevented voters from coming out to cast their vote. This is coming against the background that over the last 3 or 4 weeks, the president has made public statements expressing his commitment to electoral reform. First, on December 17th, when 2019, the president's birthday, the president told Nigerians that he wants to leave a legacy of free, fair, credible elections. Few days later, he spoke to Nigerians through a letter on New Year Day, and he expressed his commitment to electoral reforms. Few days after, 1st of January, on the 7th, the president met with the IG of police, he met with the INEC chairman, and they talked about election security. And if there's one thing the president said, was that he will no longer accept elections that are plagued with violence or manipulations. Few days after, INEC met with the Interagency Committee on Election Security, and INEC told Nigerians that it will not proceed with any election if the security of its officials, as well as election materials, is not guaranteed. Few days after, the president met with members of his legal team, and he talked about credible elections. And so you can see that over the last 3 weeks, the president has made public statement and issued a directive. And it's disappointing that in the rerun elections conducted yesterday, there were still cases of hijack of election materials and INEC personnel, and some of them were abducted. That is totally unacceptable, and the president and the IG and perhaps the security agencies really need to bury their heads in shame and perhaps explain to Nigerians what really happened. If arrests have been made, if there are no prosecution, then it says a lot about the presidential directive. Because how do citizens who hope that having heard their president talk to them and assured them of violent-free elections, and given a marching order to the security agencies, we still encounter or observe this in our electoral process. It is a testament that you have a political class that is not interested in free, fair, and credible elections. And that is very, very problematic for our democracy.
All right. I mean, let me be clear, Mr. Itodo. Are you saying what we saw yesterday in the rerun election is far from an election? Is that what you're saying?
In some places, yes, INEC performed well, but in some places, there was clear breach of security, as you can see in Akwa Ibom, in Sokoto, and also in Imo. INEC has declared results for all the elections except one, and that is the federal constituency election in Osu East, in Olu, in Imo State. That results have not been declared just because there was disruption at collation, and then some ununiformed security officials were reported to have invaded the INEC office in Olu, demanding for results of that election.
All right,
and
Mr. Itodo, let me allow apologies. Let me allow Mr. Festus Okoye, who joins us from our Kano studio. Is it National Commissioner in charge of voter education and publicity at INEC. Thank you so much, Mr. Okoye, for joining us tonight. You heard what Mr. Itodo is an observer, and he said, look, what we saw yesterday is far worse than perhaps what we're seeing in 2019 election in some areas. How do you react to some of the incidents that have happened?
You know, I will not generalize. We conducted elections in 28 constituencies in 11 states of the Federation. Right now, I am in Kano State, and I supervised the election in Ikiru Bebeji Federal Constituency, and the election went well. And in most of the constituencies where we conducted elections, the elections went well. I agree that there were incidents in a few of the constituencies, especially in the Olu also federal constituency he mentioned, where we had reports of an invasion of the collation center, and also we had very minor incidents in other places. But the truth of the matter is that nobody has accused the commission or faulted the commission in terms of deployment. All the materials were on ground. All the personnel were on ground. Now, the situation is that the commission has shared responsibility with other stakeholders and other agencies. The commission does not have its own security agency or its own security outfit. So the security agencies in Nigeria, who are constitutionally mandated to provide security, must provide security. Secondly, the political elite, the political parties and the candidates.
Mr. Okoye, I'll allow you to get on the second one when we come back from this break. We'll take a break. We continue the assessment, the post-mortem of the Saturday rerun elections in 11 states of the country and the series of issues that are being generated. That's next. Don't go away. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. I understand that we now have Mrs. Aisha Yusufu, one of the co-convener of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign. Now we can hear her. But let me allow Mr. Okoye to land on the thought he was on. He's been speaking to us from our Kano studio. Mr. Okoye, please, could you land on the thought, the trajectory you were on?
Well, the point I'm making is that the commission will not accept and will not condone a situation where violence will define our electoral process. We have made it very clear that we will not allow any political party or any candidate or any individual to invade our collation centers, cut away election results, and then force us to go to court in order to go and defend something we know nothing about. So what some political parties and candidates forget is that we have polling unit results, we have registration area results before it gets to the collation center. So we have the results from all these layers. So if you seize one at the collation center, we will go and regenerate the results from other results that we have. So it is futile going to go and invade the collation center, forgetting that we have other results. So I think that the commission did well in terms of deployment. The commission did well in terms of making sure that the election goes well. But we will not condone a situation where our election officials are abducted and then forced to generate or write results that are completely unacceptable. So we will not condone that type of situation.
So, Mr. Okoye, in the cases where in Cross River and in some other areas where there are allegations of hijack of personnel and materials, the INEC chairman said that at the briefing after meeting with security officials, he said that henceforth that INEC will no longer announce results when security is being breached. Is INEC staying on that?
Oh, definitely. We remain on that particular statement by the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. But you know, you need to put the whole issue in a basket and make a determination on whether the security breach is such that will affect the entire local government or the entire constituency. But if it affects just a particular registration area or a particular polling unit, our regulations and guidelines are very, very clear on what we need to do. And that we are following our regulations and guidelines very strictly. And we are not going to accept any result that was procured through unwholesome means. And the commission is very clear on this.
So the question I'm asking precisely is that, is INEC doing just that in this case? Is there any case in all of these 11 states where INEC is standing to its gun, sticking to its gun to say we're not announcing results?
No. The point I'm making is that you have to put each case in a basket, in a context. For instance, if election results have been declared at the polling unit, collated at the registration area, collated at the local government, and then you go and snatch the final version, you go and snatch from ECHE, or you go and snatch the local government results, we will regenerate the results from the registration areas. So you are snatching the results is completely futile. But it is incumbent on the security agencies to make sure that anybody who invaded our collation centers, that the person is apprehended and proceeded against, because the conduct of elections, securing the environment for elections, is a collective responsibility, it's a shared responsibility, and we are going to insist on that.